Namaste, friends. Welcome to my next video. I decided that I would do one on my journey, my pilgrimage around the country, and just kind of a generalized video of kind of who I am, what I'm about, and my experiences of this outward journey and my inward journey, which is kind of a lot. So I haven't scripted anything. I just thought that I would kind of just share what comes up from the heart. So bear with me. So yeah, my name's Shannon, and I am 34 years old, and I teach yoga. I offer massage therapy and Reiki therapy and yoga therapy, and I feel really blessed to be able to offer these different holistic healing modalities for people, and it's something that I'm really passionate about doing, and so it's just really wonderful that I'm able to do something that I love. And so I lived at Song of the Morning, a yoga retreat center, for 2 years, and it was a really blissful, beautiful, challenging experience, very dynamic, and it was just, I experienced a lot of growth there. And after the 2 years, I just decided that it was time for me to turn a page and to experience something new. I think my soul was just needing expansiveness. It was needing space. It was needing privacy. It was needing solitude. And it's something, this is going on the road and taking a trip across the United States. It's something I've always wanted to do since I was really little. Actually, I wanted to be a hippie when I was little and have a VW camper van with flowers and peace signs all over it, and that was like what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I don't quite have that VW van that I wanted, but I do have something that's really great and functional, and she gets me through some hard times. So yeah, I just decided to do it. I felt like it was time to take this trip intuitively, and everything just kind of, when I made that decision, everything just kind of aligned perfectly for me, and it really felt like the divine was supporting me in this decision. I found a truck camper for a really good price, and it was in really, really good condition from this beautiful lady who she feels like my fairy godmother. She gave me all kinds of things that I needed on top of selling me the caravan, and which I named Padma, by the way. And yeah, so I'm driving her around, and I left Song in the Morning in mid to late April, moved downstate and saved up some money, did some massage therapy work, and then I took off on May 16th, 2021, and it is now July 20th-ish. Sometimes I definitely can't keep my days straight. I can't keep my week. Sometimes I don't even know what state I'm in, which is just a really great feeling. I enjoy that. So, but anyway, so I've just been budgeting really well, and I've been gifted. I started a GoFundMe, and there's been so many people that are supporting me in this, and it's just so heart-touching to receive from all of these donors. And it just really amazes me how many people are out there that want to help others, including me, and to really have firsthand experience with that. I just feel so grateful, and it makes me want to give more and give back, and it feels really good to receive. And yeah, that's a whole another learning experience that I had during this trip, is really learning to receive and what that feels like without feeling guilt or shame around it. So what I did is I left southern Michigan and I drove through Ohio, stopped at Hocking Hills State Park, and then I went to Peebles, Ohio, and checked out this really ancient mound, serpent mound. That was just a very kind of mystical site. And then I drove through Kentucky and didn't have such a great experience there. I witnessed someone defecating in my campsite, which was really kind of gross, so I had to leave. And then I visited a cousin in Knoxville for a couple weeks, and I had to fix Padma. There were some things that broke down. And Knoxville was amazing. I got to experience some cicadas, these cicadas that only come out every 17 years, and only within a short amount of time within that year. And so it just happened to be when I was in Knoxville, it was this particular time. And it was just really, really cool to experience all of those cicadas. They were just beautiful little creatures that would just land on you, and they were everywhere, and they would make these really loud, chippering noises that seemed to have this like ebb and flow kind of hypnotic sound to them. So then after that, I ended up connecting with a really old friend, two friends that I haven't seen in a really long time, that just happened to be living in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. My friends Nicole and Josh, and they're park rangers. So it was just really perfect. And they reached out to me through social media and told me that's where they lived, and I was like only an hour and a half away from them in Knoxville. So I drove and visited them, and I stayed with them for maybe a week and a half or so, and it was just so much fun. They were such good people and really sweet, and took really good care of me. And we went whitewater rafting and had a dance party in the porch. Well, they danced. I watched and enjoyed it. And saw this really beautiful firefly show. There's all different kinds. Apparently, there's tons of different kinds of fireflies that kind of emit different colors, and especially in that part of the country. So I got to witness that. And then from Tennessee, I also went to Sadhguru's ashram and visited there for a day, and that was really beautiful. They have a lotus pond filled with like pink and white lotus flowers, and I went in their Shiva temple and had a really great meditation. So yeah, I do like to kind of find different holy centers and dip into them during this trip as much as possible. So then from Tennessee, I went to the East Coast and went down the Carolinas and stopped in Savannah, and then went down to visit my cousin in Tallahassee and stayed with her and her little girl for a little while, and visited some really gorgeous sinkholes, freshwater springs in Florida. And then moved on to New Orleans, and New Orleans, it's a place I've always wanted to go to, and I was excited to go, but by the time I got there, I was kind of over being around people and touristy stuff and all of that, and New Orleans is filled with it, and it was kind of overwhelming. There's so many things to see and do, and so I did kind of walk around the French Quarter and got a good feel for the vibe of that place. And there's a lot of joy and a lot of, it's very colorful and vibrant and a really interesting, eclectic kind of vibe to it. And there was also some darkness too, and a lot of bombs and homeless people. And there was kind of, I was feeling some kind of, started to feel a little unsafe actually in certain parts, being alone by myself. So I left, and I didn't really want to continue exploring New Orleans, which I kind of felt guilty about. But at the same time, it was like, that's just part of traveling, is just, not forcing myself to do something that I feel like I should do. What I really wanted to do was just go in nature and be alone. So I did. I left New Orleans and and didn't really experience what I had originally wanted to experience. And but I did go for a walk through a nature preserve swamp and saw this really beautiful alligator and giant bugs, and it was a really cool experience to do that. So then I drove like 9 hours up to Arkansas to a Trappist monk monastery. And Arkansas is like such a beautiful gem of a state. Like, who knew? And I think that's kind of the reputation that it has. Like, no one really talks much about Arkansas, but it is just gorgeous. You know, they have the Ozark Mountains there. And it's a lot more spread out. Comparing the Ozarks with the Smokies, it's a lot more spread out and spacious. And there's just a different feel to the Smokies too. There's just more kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain, kind of more grounded maybe, more calm. There's a lot more farms that I've seen. Probably because the land is a little bit, there's probably a lot more valleys there. And saw lots of cows and horses on the way. It was just so beautiful. So, but the monastery was actually in southern Missouri, and I stayed there for a few days, and that was really special. I did have this experience with a monk that came up to me and told me about a nun convent that was close by, just a couple miles away, that he suggested that I go to. And I wasn't quite sure if he wanted me to leave, and that's why he was telling me that, or if he was just being nice and just wanted me to know that I might be interested in going there because I'm a female. I'm not quite sure, because I was doing my, hatha yoga meditation practices outside, and I don't know if they saw me and felt uncomfortable or something like that. I don't know. But it was great. I walked some trails, and they had 2 beautiful chow dogs that followed me around, and it was exactly what I needed, just to like unwind. And I went to some of their devotional services, and I gave myself a Reiki session when I was there. It was just a couple days ago now, and it was just really, really deeply healing for me. And I haven't really, I give myself Reiki sometimes, but not as long of a session, and I was just really got into this trance-like healing state, and it felt so good, and I feel like I need to do that more often. It's a really great tool to pull out of your tool belt. So I highly recommend getting some Reiki training if you haven't. So then from the Trappist monastery, I drove through Kansas, and I'm on my way to Utah to check out some things there. And oh my gosh, driving through Kansas, I'd have to say, is probably one of the highlights of my trip, is just driving through Kansas. It's very flat, and there's no cars on the road. If you don't take the interstate and you take the little kind of country roads, and there's just all kinds of tons of cows, tons of horses. It was during sunset, and there was just something about it. It just felt magical. And I wasn't listening to stuff the whole time. There was some spaces of quiet for sure, but I was listening to a podcast that kind of ignited a feeling in me and a memory that I haven't really felt into before. And it was this memory experience that I had 9 years ago, and that experience surfaced, and I was able to feel into it in a way that I never have. And it was the most healing moment for me. It was so interesting. And I had this emotional release, and I felt so much, I got clarity around it, and embodied this new sense of myself while I was driving. And yeah, it was just a really, really special experience for me on this trip and journey so far. And afterwards, I just felt lighter and more clear and joyful. And so I parked at a little campsite, and this beautiful place. This is Kansas, and uh, just to kind of let that experience kind of integrate and just kind of abide and allow it to just really settle in. So that's what I'm doing here. I just stayed one night so far. I'd like to stay another night. It's really clean, spacious, free, and there's this beautiful waterfall and a lake, and so I might stay here one more night. But Padma has more work to be done, so on her. So I need to take her into a mechanic too soon. So yeah, that's part of my journey. And this video has been going on for about 15 minutes or so. So if it's this could be time for you to turn it off if you'd like, or if you'd like to continue watching, you can. Yeah, I kind of just wanted to speak about kind of more of my experiences so far, and I guess what I've learned, my challenges, and periods of growth and happiness too. I guess I'd have to say what I'm learning the most so far is just learning about Shannon, really, and just connecting with her and getting to know her, reconnecting, like getting rooted inside of her, and just allowing myself to kind of flow with my own internal rhythms, releasing any expectations of how I think this trip should be, of how I think I should feel, and just going with the flow and just allowing myself to be exactly as I am in the moment, and allowing anything that wants to come up, and just, I guess, just getting to know what I like, how I like to travel, just my thought patterns that are true, that are not true, and just loving myself more and appreciating myself more. And really noticing too just how much other people's energies can just throw me off and affect me so much. So that's something that I knew that that was that was a challenge that I knew about, that I was kind of working with at Song of the Morning, or even before. But now, like, I'm really able to see that on this journey, because I have so much time to myself. And when I do interact with another person, it's like I'm able to just notice what arises within me more clearly. Just any person. And how that person's energy affects me, and how I allow it to affect me. So that's just been an interesting kind of observation. I've been kind of noticing more and working with that. I'm just working with, like, not not being thrown off so much, or just observing that. And I think when you can observe that, you're present and you're embodied and developing roots within, which is the work, which is how I think ultimately to overcome being so affected by other people. Yeah, and then the other challenge or kind of learning curve for me is missing my boyfriend back at Song of the Morning, and we've been together for over 2 years, and I left him, and he's very supportive and understanding, but it's definitely hard to leave someone that you spend mostly every day with, that you live with and you work with and you see every day, and then you just leave. That's been something that was really challenging, and I guess allowed myself to experience that energy of missing him and longing for him and wanting physical touch. But I think I did a pretty good job with that, because there was definitely stuff that came up and it was hard, but I let that move through me, and now it's like I got over a hump, and now I still definitely do miss him and my family too, but it's not something that's like weighing me down or anything like that. I'm able to kind of step more into this space of like freedom and self-empowerment and not feeling like I need to be around someone else to make myself happy. So that's another learning experience, but I have so much more to learn and grow and growing to do, but I really wanted to go on this journey to have more of an inward experience, because I know that nothing outside of you can make yourself happy. So I wasn't going on this pilgrimage to find happiness being on the road, like, oh, being on the road will just make me happy and I'll finally be happy, and it's not that I wasn't happy before, but I've had some dark moments, and so I didn't want to take this journey reaching for happiness outside of myself. But I did know that it would be conducive, the environment would be very conducive for me to reach within myself, or settle into myself, or just abide within myself. And that has been really helpful. So I think that is probably enough to share at the moment. I hope all of this made sense to you, and it wasn't just totally rambling on, which I can definitely do. So so then from here I'm going out west to the Wild West, through Utah, through I want to go to Joshua Tree and Zion National Park, and visit the Kali Mandir at Laguna Beach, I believe that's where it's located. And I have some friends and family in Southern California, and then I want to go up the coast and go to the redwoods and sequoias, and then I have another really wonderful cousin and friend up in Portland that I'm going to visit for a little bit, and then from there I'm going to be just heading back home to Michigan. And there's really not much I'm going to that I have to plan to stop at along the way from Oregon to Michigan, except for Yellowstone. So I'm just working on being present and not feeling overwhelmed, and just letting my heart guide me. And I really appreciate you guys for supporting me, encouraging me, loving me. I love you all very, very much. Thank you. Namaste.